Hi, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Johan,
I'm Travon.
and this is the Boardroom of the Kings. We have our friend Johnny in the background who will chime in every now and again. And what we're going to be speaking about today is masculinity. So, Trevon, do you want to tell us what masculinity is?
Well, there are different sources that will say what masculinity is. But for me personally, masculinity is more or less the essence of what makes a man a man.
Right.
And to certain degrees, masculinity has been somewhat changed through the years, whereas what would be the defining definition of what it is now being changed to suit specific diasporas.
Yeah. I remember, well, yesterday we were having a bit of a conversation, and I was telling you, like, to me, I believe that, masculinity is being portrayed in recent time as, a mutilation of emotions. So when it is, they speak about a man being a man, when they say be a man, basically what they're telling you is to repress certain emotions.
Right.
Basically.
Right. Well, you see, with that now, these are the things that used to be something that we would have issues with now, but back then, it was not something you would speak of.
Right.
Understand? So as a result of that, now you have persons who would say, okay, hey, um, back then, you being a man was, suppressing certain emotions, being macho, not caring about consequences and stuff like that. They never used to have that. Now, the people are seeing that there is an issue with that, and now it has to be addressed.
Right. And what would you see as some of the issues that come about when it is a male represses certain emotions? Like when it is we mutilate masculinity and make it that it's a repression of emotions. What issues you see come about with that?
Okay, first and foremost, I think last time I had a conversation about that, is that we have issues of men's mental health.
Right.
Men's mental health is now something that has become a big thing that people are talking about now.
Right.
Now that people are talking about it. But to say that it was something that we men would talk about what we feel or what we're going through.
Right.
That's not something that was actually commonplace at the time. We would arm good ourselves throughout every situation, even if it was a depression. We would do that. And now, as a result of repressed emotions, there's a tendency to lead to a lot of downward spiral, negative abuse, negative emotions.
Right.
That would manifest itself like abuse, whether it be verbal, physical, and the whole nine. It would be some type of abuse. There would be some type of self-degradation or self-loathing.
Right.
And there's a plethora of different things because I'm a lot of moving parts to come into that type of situation.
Now, while growing up, would you say society had, basically taught you to repress your emotions, or you would say that the environment in which you grew up in was one way it is you could be fluid with your emotions? I was okay to, be a man that could choose his emotions, a man that could cry, or so it wasn't. You didn't have that.
Let me say this, right? We grew up in the Caribbean,
Right.
right? Remember, at the end of the day, we come from a post-colonial time as best. We need to remember that. And for us and our demographic, being able to be open and emotionally mature about our emotions was something that was not placed. There was no place for that.
Right.
I remember in my household, I mean, there's a term we used to use a long time called mek mek.
Mek mek.
Yeah.
I never really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Explain.
again, growing up in the islands, you see, anytime you see you have a young man who's always crying and he always, emotional. Well,
Right. So what we will call Makome or is what we will call
we used to
Mek
call him
Mek.
mek mek.
Right.
Understand? A cry baby or something
Right,
like
right,
that.
right.
So that was the terms that was used to suppress a man's emotions because young boys at the time do not know how to filter what they're feeling, and most times if it's a hurtful thing or because they would express it in that way.
Right.
So as a result of that, now parents or forefathers who again didn't know the devastation of what could have occurred if it is you don't repress it, this pass that on to us. And as a result, now we have a lot of men out here who have a lot of mental issues that would go. And I'm not saying that it's a situation where it would automatically lead to it. However, this is an active part in having men go to a downward spiral or a place where they can't connect with persons.
And what are some areas that this repression of emotions would show its face?
Well,
Like I know for a fact, like actual relationships, like you understand, man and woman relationships, there are a lot of things that men would repress or shy away from or not even speak of, even if they feel in certain things because they feel as if they're not allowed to. What are some other areas you would see that this also affects in your life?
Okay, so let's look at some tiers here. First tier, a man who is not emotionally able to express himself, he tends to be somewhat reclusive, sometimes socially, right?
Okay.
Second tier, let's say a man is romantically involved, romantically interested in a woman. Because him not being able to express himself emotionally or show some level of emotional maturity, she would see that as either a red flag, and as a result, she may not want to continue pursuing any romantic interests. Let's say, for instance, it does happen, and you go to tier 3, where they decide to pursue the relationship and they take the relationship further. There will be certain issues that would require a level of emotional maturity to acquire some type of progress. But because he is alien to that and doesn't know anything about that, he will gravitate to the next best thing, which normally would have gravitated to either violence or some type of aggression.
Right.
Because innate in us, that's one of the things that we do.
That's something that my grandfather always used to say, that violence is a language.
It is.
It's a form of communication.
It is. It is.
At the end of the day.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
It really and truly is.
This is one of the things that we tend to not look at. That we speak a type of language that not much persons would tend to learn because of the takeaway or the lack thereof of emotional maturity.
Right.
So you have, say for instance, scenario time, you have a son, and your father was not emotionally involved in your life.
Oh, so he there but not emotionally available.
So this is where we get deeper into this rabbit hole. He's there, but he's not emotionally
available. Right.
Or emotionally available. And you, growing up and seeing that, you don't know where else to get this, because this is what you know to be what it is. This is your reality. And you take this into a marriage, and you perpetuate that same mindset, and then the cycle keeps going and going and going and going. And then based on situations that you would fall into, because of the lack of emotional maturity, you would tend to put yourself in some shitty situations that only when you think of it, like, I should have handled this thing differently.
Yeah.
Take this, right? And I think most persons could say this for a fact. I don't want to make this analogy to say, okay, it's truth, but the majority of fellas who are in jail have made emotionally dumb decisions.
Right.
A man mash you, a man go in your place, and you decide to get angry, and you decide to act on that anger. Anger is an emotion.
Yeah.
But if it is that you're emotionally immature, there's certain things you know how to act upon, how to think. And when there is no emotional maturity, there is no thinking. And therein lies the constant degradation of what could occur, what has been happening so far, where everybody just tend to, I'm taking that disrespect, and she's a asshole, the whole night. I mean, I just saying it to just reiterate the fact that majority of the decisions that was made, emotional maturity as a man was not present. What do you take on that?
I agree totally and completely. I agree totally and completely. Like, some men have the ability to show the emotions and some men don't. And I believe it's mostly about the household in which you grew up in. And apart from the household itself, how the adults in the household interact with each other. You understand? My dad, for instance, I don't think I ever hugged my father. Ever. Ever. Like I never and it's not a situation where it is he was a bad father to say, well, mom and dad separated when I was approximately 4 years old. And we would go and we'd spend summers by dad. We'd spend the rest of the year by mom. Christmas time we go by our father family and that kind of thing. But he was always there, but he was never emotionally there. You understand? So there was always an awkward feeling to sit down and have a conversation about certain things. And I think that affects it, even if you don't know it consciously, it affects you and it affects how you interact with people. You understand where I'm coming from? Now, what I want to ask you is, what are some ways, you understand, what are your thoughts in some ways that we could change the outlook on, well, how we could help men to, become more fluid with emotions? And apart from that, now, as I said before, we are speaking about it a lot more. We speak about how, men need to show the emotions and men's mental health. But it also seems as even though we have the conversation a lot more, we're still in a period where actually I believe we're in a period where we speak about it more, but we have even less than we had before.
Okay, so let me answer that in compartmentally. First, to begin with, the fact that we're having these conversations means that there is, to a certain degree, some level of awareness that this is happening. This is something that is.
This is an issue.
This is a real issue. I cannot speak on this freely. However, I would say that there are agencies that have been activated for these types of problems that men would face. However, we men have a level of bravado that we tend to feel that we don't need no goddamn help from nobody.
Yeah.
So if it is that we,
not just men, like I find that men on a whole have that bravado, but for some reason, Afro males have it even stronger than any other ethnicity.
Listen to that. From a demographical aspect, right? And I say this with utmost sincerity and respect to every demographic out there. But you, as a black man, post-colonial and up to now, you cannot show weakness. You understand?
Yeah.
You cannot show weakness. So, to many a degree and extent, you have a lot of men who are unable to grieve, unable to show feelings. And they want to, but they can't because that's what they're groomed to think. You understand?
Probably. Possibly.
Okay, so chime in.
Yeah, go ahead.
I believe that masculinity lies within feminine understanding.
Okay, that's a different tangent altogether, but let's do it.
Go ahead.
I think that masculinity is a mirror or reflection of feminine energy. So without the understanding of what is feminine, you wouldn't be able to understand what is man.
Okay, so let me before I say something, right? What I gather, what he's saying, and from a deeper aspect of it, from a metaphysical aspect of it, he's going to the natural science of what masculinity is based on the perception of what a masculine should look like from a female. So I understand where he's coming from, and I do agree. However, I don't agree fully. Because only a male would know how a male feels like. And only a female will know what a female feels like. And they will describe what they feel, or if they will describe what
totally and completely different. Yeah.
However, there's a lot of gray area lately. There are a lot of gray area that's been happening where the line between masculine and feminine is way blurred than before.
Yeah, very blurred.
So now,
very blurred.
So now, like I said, I understand the point that he made.
Mm.
However, it's sad to say that this is supposed to be written in our genes, but now, in reality, it's not even written in stone.
Yeah.
Because now you have a generation of men that refuse to be men. And you have a generation of women that refuse to be women.
Do you believe is a situation where they refuse to be, or is it that we are in a time where society is telling you that it shouldn't be?
Okay, so society has a lot of tentacles out there. It's true. That's a good one. They have a lot of tentacles in media. They have a lot of tentacles in sports. They have a lot of tentacles in you whatever.
Because they have this whole new age whatever where it is they pushing the whole you shouldn't call a child a boy or a girl until it is they reach the age that they could decide that, you know, even though you were born with a penis and you have certain chromosomes and certain things, that you are not a male until you decide, you understand? Like, them things to me kind of crazy. And I feel as if this is being foisted upon the youth especially.
Okay, I'm gonna say this from a scientific aspect. What is the predominant gene or predominant hormone that identifies a male to be male is testosterone.
Right.
The predominant hormone that
Estrogen.
is estrogen, right? Amongst many others. So it has been scientifically proven in every species that there are dominant hormones and dominant genes that would, you know,
define if you're male or female. Right.
My thing has always been this. It's just my opinion. There has never been any other hormone that has been present or introduced to make you feel or assume or act or engender otherwise.
Right.
It's the same goddamn genes.
But hold on.
Yes,
okay, that's the case. I'm asking a question then. If there is
a hermaphrodite, that way go and go?
No.
Alright, go ahead.
If there is if there is a gay fella, right, who takes care of his family, provides for the household, and whatever, he may be a son in the aspect of having a father and mother and let's say a sister or brother, but he rises up to provide for the family. And you have a man who's heterosexual and doesn't take care of his kids or his responsibility. Who would you say is more masculine?
This is where the gray area comes in and clouds persons now to assume that masculinity is based on what you do rather than who you are. You see, now, you providing as a family for your family is something you're supposed to do. But it's also a choice. I choose to provide for my family. I choose to provide for my son. I choose to provide for my wife. That's my choice. Me reneging from that does not make me less of a man, less of being male. But in the aspect of how a male is viewed, I would not be viewed in that same light. I'm still a man anatomically, but with regards to how my attributes of manhood is, that is taken away because I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do as a man. So, again, I follow what you're saying. I get where you're coming from. But remember, it's not the anatomical aspect of masculinity.
Right.
Is what you do as a man that makes you a man. There's even
So which one would be more manly in that answer?
What do you mean more manly? Like
I can't. This is something you can't answer because there's too much gray area to answer that in one answer. Too much gray area for me personally. What would you think?
I would think that
you would think that the homosexual guy is more of a man because he providing for his family. I getting from what you're saying. That is what I guessing.
No,
don't want to.
No,
that's what I'm saying.
You don't
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah, I think that either case, each would only reflect on how we view a woman. because the homosexual guy is there in part acting as antithesis to what a woman should be. He's acting in how you would expect a woman to behave.
Mm-hmm.
How also that is not you can't say that.
From orientation, being one who receives a man. However, if it is one doesn't fully understand what a female is, then either case would be undefined clearly.
No.
So then basically what you're saying is
each placating or acting on the advice or the energy of a woman. Because the man isn't acting in a particular role to support his family, and the homosexual is being his orientation, acting as in a masculine somewhat role. Each has to be advised by the powers of the feminine energy. Meaning to say that because we don't thus far we're speaking about masculinity, but woman on the whole is what makes you act in a particular way or makes you feel feminine or masculine.
Oh, okay, let me just.
So
you have me lost.
So hold on. Because society has never really spent time in understanding what a woman is, therefore you can't fully define what a man actually and his role is supposed to be.
Okay, let me take this. Let me take this.
Lost.
Let me take this. First and foremost, we live in a multifaceted society,
Right.
and we also have different societies that looks at male and female in different purviews. On your first topic about you saying that what makes the man or what makes the person more manly, remember being a man is also multifaceted. And it can also be multifaceted based on perceptions of other persons or how persons see a man to be. Understand? So let's say, for instance, we're living in Singapore.
Right.
There's something called ladyboys, and that is what you call the standard culture. That's part of their culture from some time immemorial. So that's what they're called. They're not called male. They're not called female, but they're called ladyboys. And they are an accepted part of their society. We on the other side of the world would look at it as some level of taboo because we don't know that to be a norm. Right? That's number one. 2, genitalia has always been a defining factor in what is male and what is female.
Yeah.
You can run from it. You can close your eye to it. It has always and is going to always be that. They might have gender reassignments, but at the same time, the biology that comes with that will always be constant. You can reassign yourself from male to female, you're not going to have a period. And you can reassign yourself from female to male. You're not going to produce semen. You're not going to produce semen.
The point I'm trying to make is because we don't know or we haven't spent enough time understanding what a woman is. It is impossible to define completely what a man is and his role. Therefore,
how you can see this?
Someone who is homosexual orientation could seemingly act in that capacity as a male, even though him being attracted to men or gay. So I think the main influence is the woman, and we need to understand what that is because you having your strength, you would as a heterosexual man, you would desire to provide for and to be defined by what a woman likes or dislikes. And a gay person is also trying to be what he believes a woman to be and manifesting that.
You see that is where the disconnect is.
So unless you understand totally what a woman is, it will fall and everything will fall into place as to what totally a man is and
there's something wrong there. You are aligning homosexuality with femininity. You just said that a homosexual basically is more feminine. What makes you believe that there are males in homosexual relationship? There's also a male and a female, right? So that there are male homosexuals, right?
Well, that's
So-
Well, I mean, that kind of like.
Well, obviously, but you know what I mean.
that kind of
Manly
Role.
homosexuals.
So, no, hold on.
So there are different.
Roles.
Yes, okay.
Yeah,
I want you
slow
to
down.
make his point. Let me hear his point.
So why are you linking homosexuality to femininity?
The reason why I join that is to highlight the fact that because a woman is not fully understood,
Mm-hmm.
it falls that someone who is gay could act in a masculine role and be perceived by society as such, as where it could blend.
But if you are homosexual and you are already male, so how is it that you're acting male? You're already male.
Okay. So that's
You understand where I'm
okay.
coming from?
Okay, follow me here, fellas. Let me just see, because we're actually going on a different tangent now.
Yeah, it's like for
So
real.
so let's stick to the matter. I'm not dodging. Maybe I'm
No,
not dodging
I
this.
understand.
However, this is something that we need to delve in. That we have to like literally have a different discussion
Caution
about
on,
this.
yeah. I want to get back to
this
the
is something that
emotions.
would deal to the point where we have to be accurate about what the responses are, because we can't just, okay, I understand what you're trying to tell us, but I don't think that the response is going to be suffice to the progress that we're trying to create here.
Yeah.
Understand?
Yeah.
So as much as that is what we want to do, we want to move forward on what our issue is with regards to that.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, like I told you before, there's a lot of different tangents we can go on this type of topic. For instance, like you said earlier on about we don't understand what a female is. But as much as we might not have understand what a female is, our understanding of a female is enough for us to identify that she is female. Understand? And they may or may not have situations or circumstances where persons may be asexual in the sense that they have both male and female hormones, which we all do, believe it or not. We just have more of one than the other.
Mm-hmm.
But we all have those things. That's our genotype are. That's how our genotype is. But that in itself is more of a behavioral science. It's more of a behavioral study. So we have to go into that on a different tangent. But in the meantime, let's continue on
Back to
what we're discussing with regards to mental health issues, masculinity, and emotions, and how best we can treat or ascertain or even identify what are the maladies that have occurred as a result of men not being able to become emotionally understood or fluid.
Yeah.
So I think there was this guy I was reading about called Sigmund Freud, where he said unsuppressed emotions are an ugly thing to have, because when it resurfaces, it comes back uglier and uglier and uglier.
Unsuppressed emotions or suppressed
Suppressed emotions. My apologies.
Right.
Forgive me. Suppressed emotions. And when I looked at certain things that we understand growing up as children, many times, if not most of the time, we would do things that we didn't think we would have been able to do or go into based on certain things that the subconscious picked up. Which brings it back down to when it is you're not being emotionally inept in your family. When you are becoming that person, when you are that person, and your children are seeing this, your subconscious is picking up that energy, your subconscious is recording that.
Yeah.
And now as you get older,
You portray that.
you portray that. So
Yeah.
this is, and I would say in my circumstance, I have made a choice. I have deliberately and actively made a choice that the father I have, I am going to make it my business to not be that father to my son.
I know. Let me ask you a question. When was the point that you made that decision? I want you to think on it. At what point did you decide, I am not going to be him, I'm going to be better than him, I'm going to be different?
Wow, this is many moons ago. There was a situation that occurred where my father had dealt with the situation
Poorly.
admirably.
Right.
And I ended up being hospitalized.
Okay.
It was my first Christmas in the country.
In Trinidad?
In Trinidad, my very first Christmas. and I had to spend it in the hospital. And I was lying on my bed in pain, and I just kept thinking, like, you want to have children one day, right? And I was talking to myself. I didn't answer back, but I was talking to
Yeah,
myself.
yeah.
And like,
You don't
yeah,
answer?
I don't
You don't answer
answer.
yourself?
I don't answer for people to hear.
Same thing, dog. No, very. Like, I have full on
Yeah.
conversations with me,
Yeah.
and I feel that is okay.
That's okay. So while I was laying on the bed and I was talking to myself, and I said, make a vow to yourself. Because of the family you had growing up and because of the circumstances and people that you have in your life, they showed you love. They showed you what it means to walk in your power. They show you what it means to be more than enough. Make a vow to yourself that what you're going through here, you will never put your children through that. And on that bed, I could have been 12 or 13. On that bed, I said to myself, I vow to my ancestors, I vow to myself and to my unborn children, I will never put you through what I'm going through. And to this day,
You kept that vow.
I kept that vow.
Yeah.
I kept that vow. However, we need to also remember that as much as we are from our parents, we are not our parents.
Yeah, true.
So they will have characteristics and attributes that would be reminiscent of our parents. Don't fight it. Accept it. It's part of you.
Right.
But it is not you.
Right.
You are who you want to be. You keep building yourself. What you are is what you add to yourself. So if it is a effed up individual, because you added that to yourself.
No, I want to ask another question.
Sure.
This is going to be a lot of questions. Okay? What would you say is an attribute that you have picked up from your upbringing that you have carried into adulthood? That if you had the opportunity, you'd have left that there.
An attribute that I picked up,
Yeah, because of the environment as a child.
I would say doubt, self-doubt.
Self-doubt.
I would say self-doubt. The word failure, I learned it differently. Failure was a nasty word. And based on what, okay, so as I got older, I learned what failure really is. But that's not what I knew it growing up to be. And I used to believe it. I used to believe that I was that. So it crippled me so much that I rather didn't try nothing. I mean, there's certain things, basic things I should have and I didn't have. Because I was so crippled with fear, so crippled to fail.
Yeah. I think the real issue with failure is its affect the ability to cripple you. Like when somebody fails at something here, that they are less likely to try at something over here because they feel like,
Well, you see, that in itself, if I had stayed in the environment that I was in, I would have held that mindset. But now that I have took time to educate myself on what failure is, I realize that failure has always and forever been success turned inside out.
Right.
And that failure is something where it's something that you sit down, understand, learn from where you went wrong, and then reapply. That wasn't what I learned growing up. That wasn't what I felt growing up. Understand? So
You're a father, by chance?
pardon?
Are you a father?
Yes, I'm a proud father.
Proud father.
Proud father.
And how do you interact with your son or daughter?
My son.
How do you interact with your son?
First off, well, I mean, I do everything in my power to constantly educate him of the world he's living in. I also try my best to empower him, having him know that his mind is the one thing that he has to protect. He has to learn to protect his mind because there's certain things that creep into your mind and it can kill your mind. and I'm saying this from experience. Doubt is a mind killer.
Right.
And because of that now, I'm trying to show my son that you shouldn't allow that to occur. So I will give him affirmation, words of affirmation, showing him that, okay, hey, you're loved, you're remembered, you're appreciated, you're cared for, and that if there's anything that you need, we are here for you. Understand? However, there are also certain situations that he has to endure on his own.
Are you at present? We're going kind of mind the business here.
That's okay, fine.
At present, are you in a relationship with the mother of your son?
Well, that had dissolved a while back. It was a tumultuous road, but we are now at a place of co-parenting, and we're in a good place. We're actually in a really good place. I can safely say that we're in a good place. But I say all that to say this with regards to our masculinity and our our male or masculine emotions. I don't think, in my personal opinion, I don't think there's even some way that person's gonna identify masculine emotions. I don't even think that those two words coming together is something that person's heard before.
Emotions to emotions.
Because it from what we learn, masculine and emotions is like an oxymoron. It just can't go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
So to now hear that there's such a thing is unheard of. Understand?
When was the last time you cried?
Last time I cried would have been last week.
If you might ask.
Nah. yeah, but our real good reason for our crying. Because we out there crying for crying sake.
What exactly was the reason
for the crying? What brought on that crying?
I'm gonna share with you all here. I still have I still battle with doubt. I still battle with the fact that where I want to be, I'm not. And it does have some good days where you pep yourself, and there's some bad days where you're like, God damn it, boy. You start to remember the words that was said, and it starts to eat at you. And I learned that, okay, yes, you cry because you're sad, right? But there's also a cleansing that comes with it. You feel better. If there's release, there's ease, and I've learned to embrace that part of it.
Would you or have you ever cried in front of your son?
Yeah. Yes, I have. Yes, I have. Don't we laugh when you're watching Kevin Hart?
No,
Hard. So if it is we laugh together, this is powerful, but it's something that we men, especially in this country, we don't care to share that part. Something happened funny, we laugh hard. Something upset, we speak about it. But when something hurts us, we go in a place and hide about it. No, something hurt me, I cry about it. But I let it out.
The best example would be to show him about male emotions, and it'd be okay is by you physically directly showing him through your vulnerability to him, so you can learn, okay, it's okay for me to have that place where I could release my emotions, and it's okay, and it's not mech to do so.
Yeah.
So I think that's like a great example.
Yeah, we have to change that mindset, because now people fail to realize. Now, again, like I said before, I embrace those days because that vulnerability gets you stronger to where you want to go. Understand? Bones and bones break. They heal back stronger.
Yeah, they do.
Understand? Muscles tear, they heal back stronger. So we need to understand that these simple analogies we can apply in our lives as men and as fathers, and break that cycle of the toxicity where we disconnect our emotions and say that being an emotional man is a bad thing. Like, there must be a line between being emotionally mature and at the same time maintaining a masculinity.
Yeah, but there needs to be a balance.
Because
at the end of the day, I don't want to be chilling with a man who crying too easy though.
No. Don't get me wrong. But see, I can understand where you're coming from. But then for that to happen, that dude had to like really check for you. That dude had to really trust you. You see, I can cry in front of, like, remember Jen Dylan. I ain't not crying in front of no Dylan.
Why?
I'm to you, boy. I'm like, hey,
Nah,
alright?
I
ain't doing that.
I
I ain't doing that. But
Mm.
the reason why I wouldn't do it is because we actively speak of our issues.
Right.
So we get most of the hurt out. We get most of the poison out. My brothers are there to suck the poison out of each one of us. So we don't keep these things inside and it festers. Understand?
Yeah.
That's why we actively have the boardroom with the
I
kings.
had an instance whereby my brethren went by him and like he gave first horn.
Oh God.
And he didn't expect it because I know the girl too as well. She just seems so well to do and she from a good home. And he get a find out through our brethren that she went to Tobago. That was the next man and he watching them now. You understand together? And when he bring the news where
Oh
he was home,
God.
so he came in his room and he just got and he like went on his bed and he like down and just said, boy, Shiva man, boy, Shiva man. So he talking about boy.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to laugh.
Nah,
I didn't mean to laugh, but
You're making me laugh now.
I didn't mean to laugh. Because we're not talking about that same thing.
Yeah.
And we're guilty because we're so innate in us. But go ahead.
He balled up on the bed
And
Cry
cry.
like a child.
I've never seen him like that before. And there wasn't anything I could say. I just had to be there for him and just make fun of him and kind of
Nah.
That was messed up. That was really messed up though.
But
But I get it.
There was a period of acceptance.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if this is right or wrong, but the masculine aspect, I don't know. But I were toughen them up a little bit, so to speak. In the sense whereby like, okay, this was done, but
Yeah, the man up.
we had to move forward.
Yeah. No.
We can't sit in the puddle.
Okay, so let me stop you there.
No, but 1 second before you go on, like the puddle.
It was a puddle.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is like you're supposed to at least allow the man 48 hours at the puddle though. When I say 48 hours, you had to talk to him. Done. Well, so and so is the case. You understand? I understand. I understand that. I do understand.
Right.
I have no idea how you're feeling right now. Yeah. If you want to talk about it, we could talk about it. But you can't clung the man in that pain, dog. In that pain moment, you can't clung him.
Right. Now, let me add to that.
Right.
This is one of the reasons that we are unaware that we are adding to the constant self-destruction of the emotional pull-away. We are unaware that. Hear what I'm saying this?
All right.
That dude probably never cried like that before.
Yeah, I don't think he ever did.
Number two, that dude must have swallowed all the pain in his life. And the one time he was ever vulnerable was around her, and then she betrayed him like that.
Yeah.
Number three, most of them dudes go through the same thing we go through, where we are unable to grieve. We're unable to show how we feel. And number four, which has most of the times been happening, that mental issue, where them dudes get our horn and they trip. I remember a time I was working Cape Park, and me and my brothers was lying after work, and there was this guy who used to walk down Port Spain, he used to do so. I don't know if you remember that. You understand? The man says every time the man walking, he just doing so.
He peeped through our window and see something.
Dan,
He had a vision.
no, you laugh. It's funny, but the man, dead serious. The man, I walk with your boy, spending everything walking, just drift so just.
He peeped.
So
peeped
in my mind, I'm like,
what are you going on with it? Yeah. Symptoms.
what going on with this dude?
Symptoms.
What can the man say was a horn said his little boy. He peeped through that window and that was it. I heard the worst part the man say.
He still people through windows.
He still people through windows. The man says people through windows. Listen, the man say, it's not the fact that he get it horn. It's the fact that the position that he see the horn happening, it trip him. It's like, okay, boom. I ask you to do something, you don't want to do it, but when I catch you doing something,
you're doing
the same thing I tell you I want to do, you're doing me, you're doing somebody else. Normally, what's the classic response of a man? I will kill you.
It's true.
That's the classic response.
No,
I'll kill you. Don't get me wrong, it is not the right thing, but that's the
Yeah.
classic response
Yeah.
of a man in this day and time. I see that. I'll kill you. I'll kill you. You know what I'm saying?
Listen, I know a fella. He get home, right? But it wasn't matter me home, as I say, no.
Mm-hmm.
It's what happened.
Yeah.
The man say what? He ended up coming home from early. Work out a bit early.
Mm-hmm.
Double back, unawares,
Mm-hmm.
open the door, and see girl.
Mm-hmm.
Fiance.
Mm-hmm. Fiance, oh God, you want to go and marry
With
them?
a-
Oh
With
God.
now, with he was a East Indian guy with two fellas.
Oh God.
Wait.
And you watch it. Hold on.
He can't
Hold
double
on.
up. Go ahead, go ahead.
He said, remember she was starting that because he came worry.
Right.
It was so much prick that she tried to climb. She had to climb off like almost like a 30 seconds. And he watching her because there's so much prick. And he watching this man like. It's too bad.
I don't mean to laugh. I really don't mean to laugh. But you see the kind of shit that these men had to go through. And worst part is that these dudes are not emotionally mature. What's the chance of that dude? Hey, where he is now? He good? He alive?
Nah, he not good.
He not good.
No point.
He not good. He's
No
not
point
good.
exactly. No point exactly. We were never taught, like for instance, horn, say, infidelity, cheating.
That's our culture too.
As much as it is, one thing you gotta remember is this. Is either horn go pass, horn passing, or horn stop pass. But it must happen. It's like taxes. Or it's about to pass.
Why?
It's like
It's just
taxes.
like
It's like taxes.
I think you should have a horn hotline.
Oh, we will.
For men.
As a matter of fact, moving forward, we are going to continue this conversation about that part in the next segment. Don't forget that, Point I'm making is this. When it is that thing happen where a man get horn, we just only find out about that only when it happened. I remember my first time. I was a big man. I lost 60 pounds in 14 days.
Wow.
from our horn?
Yeah. I'm being very serious with you.
Hold up here.
Porn is burning real calories.
Boy, you know this too. Everybody can tell you want to lose weight fast, go on. Trinidad.
No, but hold up here. Walk me through.
Ah, God.
Oh, you're fine about the horn.
Alright.
We
I
real far off the
I
topic.
know we
just
far off the
say
topic,
that.
but again,
But-
it shed light on the fact that I wasn't emotionally aware of what was going to happen. So I went into a downward spiral. I wouldn't go into much detail because I still have my issues with that. But at the same time, I'm in a way better place than I was before. I mean, dude, I was smoking about 2 to 3 packs of cigarettes a day.
Yo.
You understand?
After that one?
After I started to get small, I started to get hard. I have a picture on my phone of how hard I was looking.
You know what I
at.
think? I don't think it's the actual horn
No, it isn't.
that is crippling. You see,
It isn't.
your mind up.
The vulnerability
your
of that
mind up.
not being there.
When it is you
that
start
betrayal.
Hold on.
Nah, to me the betrayal is one thing, but
Is
it's when
it?
you start to go down that road in your mind, like why, who, how it happened, where it happened, if you dig bigger than mine. Oh, you see them kind of things, sir.
Hold on.
That is playing
Hold on.
I come back to you now. Go
symptoms
ahead.
up.
Is it a thing of possession, knowing that okay, this woman is mine, and I am the one to provide this pleasure and this sensibility to this woman?
Let me answer
Nah,
this.
it's not that.
Let me answer this compartmentally. When that happened, I was younger.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things I knew now I didn't know then.
Right.
Okay.
So what I would take away from that is that there were certain things that I was doing that was wrong, but I didn't know
Right.
I was doing wrong.
Right.
So
Sometimes we set
we
ourselves up
do.
for one.
We set ourselves up, but we weren't taught. Again, it comes back down to what we're taught, especially coming to the emotional aspect of it. We're dealing with emotional beings, which is women. Yet we were taught to not be emotionally collected.
Why we dealing with emotional
So
beings?
now you have
Madness.
cause, I have effect.
Yeah.
You understand? If a man is emotionally mature, he would know how to read his woman.
True.
And as a result of that, now he will learn how to understand
Not
what
even
she
just
wants.
read, but to communicate on certain levels.
Because most times, not all the time, most of these women does communicate on an emotional level, which
yeah.
we don't know about.
9 times out of 10, the man that the woman who on it, she and you have an emotional connection. You know? A woman don't just jump out and give somebody the dance. You know? She giving up the
Big man
dance.
thing.
She giving up the dance after it. She has created a emotional connection to this person.
Wait. What do you call it?
What? The nan?
I never heard that one before. The dance. I never heard that one. The dance.
Like the way I look at it, right? For females, most times it's that this person giving her the communication, the conversation, the time, the attention, all these things. For you to get a horn star, you're not doing it. And I'm not saying in all cases, because there's a girl out there who just want to ride a feeling.
Yeah.
There's half them girls out there. But 9 times out of 10, it's because you lacking in certain places. And it shouldn't even reach to that because your woman's supposed to be able to come and say, well, the carrot is going to be able to find you know, so understand the other. But men really and truly close off. So sometimes when you take your woman, even if she don't even know how to approach it.
Right. So now, why you think that is? Because now you're trying to approach me about someone that's bothering you. But I am not emotionally equipped to deal with your shit. How I go and deal and go and answer you with that?
But sometimes, right, when the woman horny man, sometimes that shows issues that she personally have with herself.
And nobody's saying no.
Yeah.
Nobody's saying no. But 9 times out of 10,
they have an emotional connection.
it is an emotional situation.
It's a connection.
Listen, man. We will run down that 20%, but we're not leaving 80% for it. You know? You think they don't think the same thing too? Of course they would.
It's true.
Of course they would.
Now, I want to ask you one question, and this is far off of what we're talking about.
Don't worry, we get back to it.
You believe that, you know, in monogamous relationships, you think that monogamy makes sense? And we just touching it and coming back up. We ain't going in.
All right, now I'm gonna tell you something. I know my response to this. A lot of persons
ain't going to agree.
is not going to agree.
Yeah, but give me
they
the
are
100.
not going to agree. But my thing is, if there was something called polyamorous or polygamy, if you want to call it that, where in the days of old, certain people in the Bible, in different volumes of sacred law, was practicing that.
Right.
And when they practiced that now, they had little to no issue with the horning thing, if you want to call it that.
But it's not horning.
Okay, no, it's not horning because you have one.
Yeah.
But
But then we still also had to bring back and understand that for you to have multiple women, you understand? Or for a woman to even want to be in a relationship with a man who in a relationship with her next woman, you need to be emotionally available. You understand where I'm coming from? Like
that is a very, very, very good, strong point. You cannot be emotionally
unavailable and looking for more than one woman. No, I'm making sense.
That's a very good point.
Making sense.
That's a very,
that's
very
why
good
I think
point.
I deserve more than one. But I'm
hold on for me personally. It is very difficult for me to connect.
Go ahead.
It is very difficult for me to connect, to make love to a woman because of how I grew up and not experiencing love for my own self. To actually look a woman in the eyes and give up myself or surrender myself in that love-making dance, as you would say, was very difficult for me because I feel like giving up something, whether it's gaining an aspect of connection that is valuable.
Okay.
And for men, that's very difficult. And that sometimes leads to the horny because a woman craves that connection. Because let be real, having sex with a woman, being inside of a woman, she wants that connection where spiritual she feels like
sex
innately.
innately.
For me, Take me a long time before I could even start to be as vulnerable. It's a form of surrender.
It is. But I can't quote where I learned this from. Forgive if I can't, but there was something. The word sex was basically acronym for sacred energy exchange back in Latin, and I remember how if it goes. But what I would say, especially when coming to that, it is a very spiritual thing. Sex in itself is a very, very spiritual thing. As a matter of fact, there are a lot of different spiritual systems that still use sex as a medium. You understand? What I would say, and I think that this is something that we men supposed to learn about, is the fact that vulnerability comes from the fact that we're not emotionally pouring into our own cup.
Sure.
So I can't expect to go into a relationship where my cup is like yours, right? And her cup is like this, and I expect her to pour into my cup, full mine, and hers still remains full.
Yeah.
Understand?
Yeah.
So I think the real thing that we have to learn from this is to learn to understand who we are as men, what makes us who we are individually, uniquely, and collectively, and do not be afraid in being emotionally mature, because that in itself is what keeps your cup full. You understand what I'm saying? You cannot pour from an empty cup.
You can't. You can't.
That is what keeps your cup full. You need to be balanced throughout, right? So,
But with that being said, then
what did this
we know our generation, because you understand the ones that went before, the ones that were in the position to, ensure that we have the knowledge that we need, they didn't do their job.
It's not. I wouldn't say they didn't do their job.
They did not.
They didn't do their job because they didn't know they had a job.
Right.
So let me just say this.
I don't think.
I can't pin it all on them. I really can't. Pin it all on them.
I don't pin it all on them by saying that you. I think that you know that you have a job.
All right, people, you know you have a job, but just know that this was part of it. Follow what I'm saying. You being an emotionally mature individual and emotionally mature masculine person that you look up to, and passing it on to your son, they did not know that that's part of the job, and as a result, this is what's been going on. Understand? So now
We have that job.
now that we have, in the advent of a lot of knowledge, we have been privy to this information. We can act on this and change the paradigm and break that cycle now moving forward.